Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and there was a press conference today. Attorney John Ray's attorney for the Shannon Gilbert family came out and he presented a whole bunch of very interesting photos, shall we say, well, artwork um, that supposedly was connected, allegedly. I'll say allegedly here because I don't have myself personal proof, but he is an attorney. He's gone public with this in a major press conference. I would think that he put effort into determining that what he is claiming are as a Tumblr account connected to Victoria Heuermann, that it really is. If he's going to do that, because if she's not actually connected to that account, and all the artwork that he's showing that he says she put on that account, if he's incorrect, that she will sue the hell out of him, because what he is inferring is that Victoria, be involved with her father Rex in serial homicides. That's a pretty horrific thing to go public with. And so, what do I think at this point as a profiler about a possible tag team of father daughter? There are some who even believe that the whole family was involved, or at least his wife had to know what was going on. Supposedly, his wife was out of town, a family was out of town when the murders he's known to have committed went down. And therefore, they were not involved, and that he was careful. He was a solo serial killer who chose to commit his crimes when he had the time to do it. Now, this is this happens quite often with serial killers who are married. The majority of the time, their wives do not know. They have a separate place where they commit their crimes, and they make sure that the wife is not around at the time, so that they can do what they want to do. They don't want witnesses. They want to be able to continue what they're doing. It's their hobby. They don't want to get caught doing their hobby, because then their hobby ends, because they're going to be in prison. So they make sure that hubby doesn't know. And oftentimes when they are finally arrested, if they get arrested, the wife is shocked because she can't believe it, that this could be true. In many cases, they're like, there's no way my husband would do these things. And one of the things that a serial killer who is married will do, have to understand how they work this out. There was a serial killer named Bartolome, and he was dating this girl. Well, this is how it started out. On their first date, she says, he showed me his license, and he said, "Look at this." And she said, "What about it?" And he goes, "I made it." And then she says, on our second date, and you wonder, why the heck are you on a second date with this creep? Not this creep, but the Bartolome creep. Why are you going out with this guy again? She was a teacher, and she was going out with a guy who counterfeited his license, or at least claimed to. That's not a guy you want to continue a relationship with. But no, she went out again. And then he pulled out a bill and said, "Look at this." And she said, "What about it?" He goes, "I made this too." And then she says, on our third date, and at that point, you go, okay, this is how this kind of guy finds a wife. He finds a very gullible human being. He's probably met many women who won't put up with stuff like that, who will question him and go and run away. But when he finds the type of woman who will go along with the program, he's got the wife he wants. He knows he can manipulate her and fool her and get away with what he wants to get away with without her asking too many questions about that locked room. What's going on in the basement? What's happening in the shed? Why do I keep being sent away for 3 days? She'll like go along with the program because she thinks he gives good reasons, and he's used to manipulating. So I don't know that his wife knew what he was doing, if he is found guilty of the crimes which he is alleged to have done. He hasn't been convicted yet, so I have to say alleged. Now, what about Victoria? If what the attorney came forth with in the press conference, and he showed a bunch of pictures, and let me tell you, I'm not going to show them, believe you me, because they're disgusting. They are gore porn. They are pictures of women being tortured, the bodies cut open, their breasts cut off, their internals exposed, in agony and pain. This is disgusting, absolutely disgusting. And it's very similar to what we see in a slasher movie, where you have the innocent girl who goes down in the basement when she shouldn't, and she is then caught and tortured and cut up, and horrible things happen to her. And I've never understood why anybody would go see a slasher movie. I only saw one in my life. It was called Last House on the Left. And the guy who made that film and others, I'll call him a psychopath. I will. Because anybody who can make the kind of content that shows human beings in terror, being tortured and ripped apart and suffering as an amusement, I'm going to say you got a personality disorder. I saw that movie by accident. I heard it was this kind of cult film, and I was like, oh, I wonder what that is. I did not leave the theater, and I wish I had. Those images are emblazoned in my brain forever. Horrible. And I just couldn't believe it. I was sitting there in shock. And I'm wondering, why are there so many people in the theater next to me? And they were going out smiling, and they were, oh, that was cool, man. I'm like, it wasn't cool. It was horrific. It was like you were part of the killer team, and you were going in there and killing these innocent women. And you think that's amusing to see the women, what was happening to them, to be a part of it? That's sick. Well, Victoria, I don't know if those pictures are yours. If they are, you're a sick twit. You are one sick twit. You're a gore whore. True. You have this furry thing too. Okay, the furries, people don't know that. People dress up as animals and this whole sex furry thing. It's ridiculous. At least it's not gore. Unless you have furries and gore put together, then it is. But the stuff I saw that the attorney showed was just disgusting pictures showing, depicting, shall we say, depicting, because it was art, depicting women being tortured and mutilated in agony and pain and dying. If that's your thing, you a gore freak, you're a gore whore, and you probably are a psychopath. Because you got a personality disorder of some sort. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm not officially labeling anybody who does the makes the slasher films and makes the gore stuff or loves it as a psychopath. I'm just going to say, if the shoe fits. There's nothing nice about sadism, and that's what this is about. What he's allegedly did was sadistic. He is what I would call, there's two types of serial killers in my viewpoint, fast and slow. Fast is the guy that jumps out of the bushes, attacks a woman, strangles her, hits her over the head, rapes her, and kills her within 10 minutes. It's still sadistic because he's taking her life and doing terrible things to her very quickly. But he would say this guy's a sick puppy. So the fast serial killer thinks this guy's a sick puppy. You mean you take women home, put them in a dungeon, and torture them for a really long time and watch them struggle and die? Oh, you're a sick puppy. And this guy, who'll be what I call a slow serial killer, thinks that fast serial killer is an idiot. It's like, what a waste, man. You only had 10 minutes of fun? You're an idiot. Hey, I make sure when I get my women, I can spend time with them. Ultra sadist, if he's guilty of his crimes. She loves the depiction of gore, people being tortured. She also has a sadistic mind. Now, did she take that into real life or not? And this is where the tag team issue comes in. At this point, I don't think anybody has any proof that she was involved in any of his crimes that he's being accused of at this point in time. It would be unusual I will say this. She's what, 26, 27 right about now. Um, she would be fairly young when she was started. He's been doing this for a while. She would have been too young to be involved for a portion of it. But then again, she's coming into a certain age where she could be involved. Would he involve his own daughter? Would he take the risk of having her see what's going on and be able to babble to somebody that, hey, guess what Daddy and I did this weekend? We didn't go to Disneyland. Yeah. What would she say? He seems to be a pretty much of a control freak. He likes to control all these specific things. And I don't know that he would take the risk of having her involved. Now, if he thinks he has enough power over her, if she's suffering from like a Stockholm syndrome type thing where he's basically her captor and she then goes along with him because he is who he is and she feels she must and maybe even thinks it's a good thing what he's doing and she wants to please him and all this kind of stuff. Is it possible? It's possible. I don't think it's probable, but I think it's possible. So then if you ask me, well, Pat, if you don't think she was doing it with him, what the heck is all this? Where did she get all this love of gore and the violence and horrific stuff? Sorry, there's a noise in the background here. Something fell. All this noise, this stuff that she supposedly has on her Tumblr account and elsewhere. There was like at the press conference, there was like whole bunches of websites that were supposedly attributed to being linked to her, in that she was a part of those websites. Not that she ran the websites of it, that she enjoyed going to them. Why would she be like that? Well, here's a possibility. It's possible that he, in his household, brought in the concept of, isn't this fun to watch Last House on the Left or other slasher type films? He started out with some horror films as the kids were growing up. Oh, isn't this fun? And the more slasher films. Maybe he tried to introduce her to certain concepts over time. And she got interested in them. I don't know whether there's any possibility of some kind of sex abuse to his daughter. Possible too. So he could have introduced to her concepts. And she grew up with a rather depraved mind like Daddy. I don't know that this is true. First of all, we have to find out what these alleged, the websites that they're, and the Tumblr account truly is linked to her, and the artwork that was on the Tumblr account is truly hers, because that would make a big difference. If it isn't hers, well, then she's one of those who grew up with a father. She didn't know what was going on. She still may not know what's going on, but be a gore freak, in which case she's a sick twit. I have no other way to say it. It's a sick and sadistic. And especially because a lot of it's women, that you would want other women to be tortured is concerning. There's this kind of stuff on the internet, by the way. It has grown massively. And it's really sad, because once upon a time, if you had some sick little things in your head, you had nobody to share those sick ideas with. But now, because of you can pretty much find anything on the internet. It doesn't even need to be the dark web. You can find it every place. One of the cases that I did a profile on was a German fellow who went on a site for cannibalism, and he got his victim from that website. The victim wanted to be eaten, and he wanted to do some eating. And the guy went to his house, and that's what he did. It was consensual. But normally, if you have cannibalistic thinking, in the past, before internet, where are you gonna talk about that? Where are you gonna get online and let's talk about killing and eating people? Yeah, who's gonna be there? I had another case where I interacted with a fellow. I pretended I was a 14-year-old boy, and this fellow was on a site called menunderwater.com. His fantasy was drowning young men. He wasn't having sex with the young men. He was drowning them, and that was what was exciting for him sexually. And Again, he found a website called menunderwater.com where that's exactly what happened. That shouldn't exist. I'm sorry. I'm all for free speech, but some things shouldn't exist in this world. And cannibal sites and drowning young men underwater sites and gore porn maybe should not exist, and should not be out there for everybody who's slightly messed up in the brain to then get that encouraged. Because sometimes what happens is you can have ideas, but if they don't, you're not watering them, giving them some kind of it's like a flower, if you don't take care of the flower and give it the right food, the flower food and the water, it will just it'll die off. So it's the same thing with the brain. If you don't have anything to inspire you, and you want to be inspired by good things like artwork, nice artwork that you want to make, beautiful paintings yourself, be inspired into with music and other things. But if you're got a dark mind and you have these interests in sick things, and there's stuff out there that will inspire you, and you can spend 24 hours a day looking at this stuff and putting it into your brain, then your brain gets sicker and sicker and sicker. And I find that quite appalling, that this exists in the world, and that most people don't even realize it exists. But the people who want to find that stuff on the internet now can find it very easily, believe you me, sadly. So just some thoughts on that. So do I think she was involved with that? I have no clue. I think this is part of a police investigation, and I hope people out there don't think that, let's be internet sleuths and go figure it out. No. It's a police investigation. They have access to him, his home, his family. They're the ones doing all of this. They will determine whether she really had these connections to this gore porn, and whether she's just a gore freak and a sicko, or whether she was really involved with that. So they're going to figure this stuff out. This is what the police do, police investigation. And then we're going to find out a lot more when everything ends up in court. So that's my thoughts on this. I don't know how deeply she's involved with what Dad was allegedly involved with doing. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't know. But if she really did have that Tumblr account and she put up that artwork, which the gore porn, yeah, he's a sick dog and she's a sick puppy. And maybe growing up with him was a pretty unhealthy thing. So anyway, those are my thoughts. If you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe, and check my playlist for the other stuff I cover. And let's see where all this ends up at some point, because I'm not sure what we're going to find out next. Bye-bye.